In 2004, Rockstar was an up-and-coming brand. No longer just the developers of Grand Theft Auto, they were becoming a household name, mostly due to the success of GTA 3, not to mention the controversy of its release. Hot off the heels of games like Manhunt and Max Payne 2 came Red Dead Revolver, which would be Rockstar's first shot at distilling the spirit of a spaghetti western into a video game experience. Rockstar might have many offices across the world, but their design ethos is company-wide. They want to make video game worlds that are not just fully realized 3D sandboxes. They also strive to deliver cinematic experiences, and altogether cinema vibes. You probably know what I mean if you've played LA Noire or GTA 5. Think of Michael. It was evident in Manhunt with the snuff film theme coming across in the visuals and the gameplay. As Cash, you killed stereotypes of criminals while being framed by the camera as if it was being filmed on a camcorder, complete with VHS scan lines. Rockstar's love for movies is evident in the many film references in Max Payne 2, let alone the thousands of references you could probably list in the GTA series. So let's imagine that you work for Rockstar, and they have up to this point released a gritty noir film game like Max Payne 2, a horror movie of a game like Manhunt, and then Vice City, which was literally Scarface. What genre would be next for the studio? Well, if it wasn't for Capcom, we might not have ever known what a Rockstar spaghetti western game would look or play like. Because in 2004, Capcom had a development team that was struggling to put together an arcade shooter called Red Dead Revolver. The work they had made up to that point was impressive, but Capcom was unsure of the project, which was headed by Angel Studios initially. Luckily for us, Rockstar's parent company at the time, Take-Two, purchased Angel Studios and rebranded them as Rockstar San Diego. Dan Houser, creative director at Rockstar, found the project to be very promising, so development restarted thanks to an injection of new blood from Team Rockstar. Formerly known as Angel Studios, and with a handful of Rockstar designers, they took another crack at the arcade shooter. Red Dead Revolver is a prototype of Red Dead Redemption, and I don't care what any Rockstar devs say or what the fans say, Red Dead Revolver is not canon, nor is it anything like the Red Dead games we all know and love now. Red Dead Revolver is a spaghetti western. It's a tale about revenge, it's about family, and it's about American greed. Red Dead Revolver is about shooting varmints and surviving set pieces. It's not about quiet introspection while riding your horse in the Great Plains of North America. Now, Red Dead Redemption is about family. It's about greed, and it's about the cycle of violence. It's also about exploration and the atmosphere of the American South. While Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 feel real and authentic, Red Dead Revolver feels like a myth. Arthur Morgan and John Marston are complex characters. They're also tragic characters. Red Harlow is a tragic character too, but I think the good writing that goes into making Arthur Morgan and John Marston so memorable and powerful even years after their games have released is the fact that they are characters with something to say, and their message is that poverty can lead to crime, and poverty can drive good people to do bad things out of desperation. It's all about survival, right? The haves and the have-nots. That makes them interesting and engaging characters, and it makes their redemption interesting and engaging. Were they really bad people, or just products of their environment? When we look at Red Harlow, he's tragic, yes, because his parents are killed, because his family is robbed of the gold that they found. But I think the only thing that really makes him interesting is that at the end of the game, he says, it was never about the money. And the reason why that's so interesting is because of everything they did to his family. They could have probably just taken the gold, but they didn't just take the gold. They took Red's mom and they took his dad. And that didn't matter to him. The money didn't matter. His family does. But that doesn't come across in the game, unfortunately. We just don't have enough time and enough cutscenes, I guess. Since cutscenes were how they conveyed most of the information in 2004. Red Dead Revolver, while incredibly humble and small in scope compared to its predecessors, is also an incredibly fun game. The kind of game that is so deep that its depth isn't readily apparent. You can't just play it once. You can't play it for an hour. To see how complex and reactive the combat is, you probably have to play through the whole game. Genuinely, and the short 3-hour campaign, they cover every set pieces they could with the mechanics they supply the player. You will clamber through valleys, dodging snipers, and firing back from cover behind rocks with a long-arm rifle. You will defend a train from robbery, before you rob your own military train by the end of the story. The story is told from multiple perspectives. It's told from the angle of Red, Jack, Annie, Diego, Shadow Wolf, and the Buffalo Soldier. And going through them each, Red represents a typical cowboy protagonist from tales of old. He's Clint Eastwood. Jack is British. He's a performer from across the seas. From a time period when people would perform tricks with revolvers, this is his lore excuse for always dual-wielding pistols and pulling the cavalry draw. Annie is our stand-in for Annie Oakley, complete with a rifle that can one-tap groups of banditos. Diego is our villain, one of them, and his mission gives us insight into his motives, as well as how he came to become an enemy of the Harlow family. Shadow Wolf is actually Red's cousin. Red's mom is a native. And because the game is pre-2010, there's a segment where you play as Shadow Wolf. I don't think we'll ever get another game where you play as a Native American. Even in Gun, which came out only a few years later, they chickened out on making the protagonist part of a tribe and just said that I think his mom was Native again, which the implications there are kind of bad, but in this game you can tell that Harlow's parents are in love and everything is good to go and consensual and not weird and evil like in real history. And then the last playable character is just known as Buffalo Soldier. He's the only black guy in the game, which I kind of get because it's an old west setting and it's just hard to bring up characters that are people of color without confronting the ugly reality that is slavery. But he is literally the only playable character in the game that doesn't have a name. Okay? Maybe you can unlock some other people for Showdown, but he's a main character in the story. Give him a name. He even, spoilers, he even dies to help Red finish his quest. Why does he not have a name? He's a real character. But that's basically all I have to say about that. Now, Red Dead Revolver looks pretty ugly by today's standards. That's true, but what has not aged even a minute is the phenomenal soundtrack. As much as the visuals have aged, the music helps immerse you the way that you should be. When we play games, we want to forget that we even have a controller in our hands. And this soundtrack and gameplay pull that off easily. You are immersed very quickly. At some point you just get swept up in the bombacity of the trumpets, and they spur you on to slam your revolver hammers. Shell casings pile up around you, your enemies are collapsing in bloody heaps, or they're sliding down walls, leaving trails of blood as they descend. This game has the typical 2004 quirks, such as getting used to bad hitboxes, understanding enemies are just invincible during certain animations, most animations. But the game is hard, and the reward for getting better is a more fun experience. You know, the harder the difficulty you play on, the more fun it gets. Once you beat on normal, you unlock hard, you beat that, you get very hard. I don't normally like that in games, but that's not what we're talking about. It's a short game, but the brevity helps. I find the game also gets better around halfway through. In fact, the beginning is good. The middle with the prison is bad to mid, if that. And then when you get out of the prison, I find the game picks back up and actually just, I would say after the prison, it just keeps escalating the stakes of the plot, while also raising the bar for the moment-to-moment action in each level until it all culminates in this climax. And here it is. Red finds the home of his parents' killer. It's a huge mansion protected by the army. There's no way back. Red is going to get his revenge on a man who is now governor. It was never about the money. So much I still want to go over. The cutscenes are well written and acted, even if the animation and storyboarding wasn't quite there yet. And the game comes with a ton of unlockable content in the vein of Time Splitters 2. You play single player and you unlock characters and maps for split screen, which is the PvP mode, like GoldenEye. This is my love letter to a game that is ugly, but it sounds beautiful. The gameplay has some rough edges, but it's overall actually ahead of its time with the control scheme. It puts other games of the time to shame. Red Dead Revolver has the modern third-person control scheme that we are all accustomed to, that we all know and love. Left trigger to aim, right trigger to fire, no inverted aiming, a cover system, manual reload. They even had Deadeye from the very beginning. And in Red Dead Revolver, Deadeye is different. It's a different ability depending on which character you play as, in split screen or single player. And that adds more to their personality. Red has the typical tag you think of, you tag and you shoot, whereas Jack, the performer, automatically tags the nearest targets at random spots, legs, arm, chest, and just fires away immediately. One is slow and deliberate, where the other is spectacular, yet less deadly, fitting with the bounty hunters and performers' personalities respectively. This game is available on the PlayStation Store, on PS4. Otherwise, you may need to just get a physical copy. I don't know if it's on Steam. But I promise you that this legend is worth it, even if it's just to see the roots of one of your favorite franchises. You can marvel at the locations that made it from Revolver to Red Dead 2, of which there are 3. You'll notice that Red has scars on his face from a cougar, just like John would go on to have too. He's almost like a proto-John. And Jack, the showman, even draws his pistols the same way as Micah. I mean, it's a cavalry draw, so it's not like they own that, but still, it's interesting to see it in multiple games. To finish out this video, I'll just let the game speak for itself with this story. I played this whole game, and not once did I push on due to nostalgia. I was genuinely hooked, and for the last hour of gameplay, I could not put it down until the story was done. And then, I beat it again on hard mode. If a game makes you beat it twice, 20 years after it dropped on the market, then you know you've got something good on your hands. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm brand new to all this content creation. My name's Green. I want to make more reviews. So far I've made 3 in total. You can find them in my playlist here. I'll link it in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I genuinely love making these videos, even if they're not the highest quality. I just like knocking them out for practice, getting better at editing and at my speaking and scripting. If you guys enjoyed this at all, you know what to do. YouTube is 100 years old by now. Like, subscribe, share it if you don't mind, you know, and check out my other stuff. I really do want to get better equipment, but I'm working and living off minimum wage, so I don't have any good recording equipment, audio equipment, a microphone. I don't have editing software. I don't have a computer. I made this with my PlayStation. So if you enjoyed, it would really help me out a lot. If you could show your appreciation with a like. That's all I need. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. I'll see you in another video, hopefully very soon. And I think the next one might be another first-person game. Oh, second try, baby!
Never did like him much.
Shut the fuck up, you fake ass. Buffalo's okay!
Jack?
Well, Red, I'm not saying Griffin didn't deserve it, but he was the governor. I reckon the army will be sniffing around here and... well, I'd hate to see you hang after all you've done. 5,000 in gold sound like a fair bounty?
No. 50,000. Give it to her. We did it for the gun. Jack can't really be dead. That's so iconic. I remember that shit.
Give it to them. It never was about the money.